Welcome back, family. It's your brother Ryan Hardgraves, and we're live at the Good Life Studios. I'm so glad you're here. As always, we're intentional about living the good life. And if you want to live the good life, you got to do the work. So let's get to work. I've been thinking about this last video and the response that I've got from it, talking about men being committed to marriage and just what that really looks like. And why aren't men committing long term? You'll be in a relationship, you'll live with your girlfriend, you'll have kids together and start a business together and do all the things. But why aren't we getting married? And I'll be honest with you. It's because most men feel like they run out of options. They get trapped into it. They don't feel as though it really benefits them in the long run. I would argue, however, that marriage is actually the one thing that men can do to push themselves to be the greatest version of themselves ever. Why do I say that? I'm glad you asked, fellas. Because being with one woman for the rest of your life is a very difficult thing to accomplish. It's hard. And selfishly, for those of us who figured it out, that this is the one thing, this is the one vehicle that can actually push us to the level of greatness we desire, we jump head into marriage. I figured out early on that I wanted to be a husband. I wanted to be a father. I wanted to be the type of man that my dad was for me and our family. Not because my dad's a millionaire or because he's some famous football player or because he's a high level man. None of that. But because I saw the quality of life that my dad was living as a man. I saw the fulfillment in his eyes when he looked at my mom. I saw the joy that he expressed when myself and my sister were coming to the room. I recognized that something was different about my dad than it was about all the other men around me in my life. And I just figured out that if I did everything that he did, then possibly I can have everything that he had. And he was keen on telling me that, Ryan, it starts with loving your wife and loving your family. When you love your wife and love your family, then everything else can fall in place because these things are the most important. Outside of loving the Lord, love your wife, love your family, and everything else will happen well. And so I think my challenge to you all, to all of us as men, to live a life committed to one woman comes from this place. It comes from a healthy place. It's not being worried about how many Christian marriages end in divorce and how many people are living quality lives although they're not married and how many people are doing this. And it's not about all the outliers. It's about the fact that God promised that marriages will be blessed and that there are benefits on the other end of doing things the way God told us to do them. Now, with that being said, I'll be honest, I'm selfish in how I approach marriage. And that might not be the best thing, but it's working for me so far. And I want to share with you why I believe it's working. Okay. It's selfish for me in the sense that I recognize that when I'm committed to my wife in the right ways, when I'm committed to my wife, I'm committed to her development, that in return, because she's a woman, she multiplies everything that I give her. So she brings that back to me, which causes me to have to get better. See, as men, many of us, we're just like every other man in the sense that we keep up with everything that can and will be calculated. Yeah, I know you do because I know I do, right? You keep up with how many home runs your favorite baseball player hit. You keep up with how many points LeBron has, although he's the number one scorer in the NBA now. You keep up with what's the spread on the football game. You keep up with how many pairs of Jordans come out this year. You keep up with how tall a football player is and how fast he runs and how much he lifts. You keep up with, we keep up with everything. We keep up with how many horsepower, how many, what's the horsepower on a car. And we track and we measure everything. But the one thing that's hard for us to track and measure is our development as men. That's a hard thing for us to track and develop. And selfishly, the way I figured out how to track how well I've developed is to simply look at my wife. If my wife is growing, then undoubtedly I'm growing because I'm leading her. Now let's think about this. If I live with a woman and we're not committed to the marriage covenant is the one thing in life that makes two people become one. The covenant, not the license, because we can go get a piece of paper and then not live married. But the covenant, the decision that we've made on an altar between one another and God. So it's a three entity covenant. It's this covenant that binds us together, and then that says that when you grow, I grow. When I grow, you grow, and we grow together. And so it's this idea that says that when I enter into this covenant, again, not contract, when I enter into this covenant with the understanding that by every time I make this woman better, I make myself better, then I get to be selfish about it. And this is what I found, all right? So Ephesians 5:25. Now, anytime someone mentions Ephesians 5, they automatically run up a couple of verses to verse 21 and 22. And they start talking about, women being submitted to your husbands and all of these things. And then we abuse the scripture. But let's keep reading, okay? In verse 25, it says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her in order to make her holy by cleansing her with the washing of water by the word, so as to present the church to himself in splendor without spot or wrinkle or anything of the kind. Yes, so that she may, so that she may be holy and without blemish. You see that? Do we see it? That when Jesus presents the church back to himself, he does it in splendor without spot or wrinkle and with anything wrong with it. So when we approach our wives, and again, I'm saying wives because I'm encouraged that you're moving beyond this long-term living situation that you've created, that you're moving beyond this long-term dating situation, and that we're making long-term commitments, the real commitments to your wives. That in doing so, when we approach seriously this commitment to our wives, that when we give up ourselves, and what does that mean? That I give up I give up things that would have only brought me pleasure, but now I seek things that bring both of us pleasure. I give up things that would have only benefited me, and I replace them with things that benefit the both of us. I'm no longer living for myself, but I'm living for the both of us, and I'm living for the legacy that's connected to our name, because the name is no longer mine. It belongs to both of us. I've shared my name with you. I've shared my legacy with you. I've shared the identity that I have with you. And now, because of that, you and I have become one. And so everything that I do that would benefit me, it must also benefit you. This is next level living. This is a higher level of living. This is, dare I say, the good life. This is good life living. When we get beyond being selfish in the sense of I'm only doing things for me, but then we begin to recognize that when I do things for others, when I fulfill dreams for others, when I go the extra distance for others, that then becomes what fulfills me. See, when I look at my dad and he looks up and he says that he's been able to support his wife for almost 40 years now. When he looks up and says that he put both of his children through college. When he looks up and he says that neither one of his children have ever been arrested. When he looks up and he says that he has healthy relationships outside of his marriage because he has good friends and he has healthy relationships with his siblings and with his in-laws. When I look at my dad and I start to see all of the things that he's modeled for me as a man, I can't only help but say he figured out something and he did it right. And I truly believe that after salvation, the biggest decision he made was to marry my mom. Because my mom has made sure that the only thing she'll accept from him is excellence. Yeah, the only thing my mother is willing to accept from my dad is excellence. And the thing is when we're not in covenant, when we don't have a next level commitment to somebody, they don't have the right to demand excellence from us. All they can actually ask from us is whatever we're willing to give. They don't have a right to ask for more. They can't ask for more because they're not giving more. They're not in a more situation. But when we decide that we're going to go the extra mile with our partners and we decide that we're going to give them more than we currently have, then they can ask us for more than we're currently producing. Yeah, and I think I maybe call me crazy, but if you're the type of man that I think you are, I believe that you're the type of man who wants to be challenged, who wants to grow, who wants to become better, who wants to be connected to people who are going to push him to his great, who are going to push you to your greatness. I believe you're that type of brother. Now, if you're not, then this video probably isn't for you in the first place. But if you are, then that means you're like me, and that means you want to be connected to people like the people I'm connected to, primarily my wife. See, she makes the joke all the time that I don't really have a whole lot of friends, but I don't need a lot of friends because I have a friend in her that pushes me to greatness. Now, do I have friends? Sure, I got friends, but I don't need to hang out all night playing a video game and doing all these other things because right there in my home, right there in our, I have compassion, I have companionship, I have challenge, I have everything that I need from her. Now, I know women, some of you women are watching and saying, well, that's unfair to ask of her to be all of these things. The truth of the matter is that I never asked her to be all of these things. She's decided to be all of these things because I've decided to be all that I can for her. And there we go. That's where the rub comes in. Are we meeting each other with an equal amount of urgency to serve one another, or are we simply trying to get ours and get out of the way? Are we urgent? Are we urgently seeking to give each other the best version of ourselves that we can possibly give, or are we only trying to get ours and move on? Because if we're trying to do the latter and not the former, we're not serving ourselves nor our partners as well as we possibly could. And this is why many of us are scared to move to the next level because we haven't seen the potential in our partner that they can actually produce because we haven't shown them anything worth producing for. When I asked my wife to marry me, she emphatically said yes. You want to know why? I asked the same question. What was it about me that made her emphatically say yes? What it was is that she believed in everything that I said to her because she saw the fruit that I was producing in my life. And she wanted to be a part of the vision. She wanted to be a part of the legacy. She believed that there was space in the vision that I was trying to create, that I'm trying to create, that I'm currently working on for her to coexist and to flourish. And because of that, she said yes. Now, brothers, the argument I always hear is that I don't know because she's not currently doing this and she's not currently doing that. And I would ask you, bro, are you doing the things that create the space for her to thrive in the way you're desiring for her to thrive? Because if you're not, you're quenching her ability to grow. You're crushing her ability to fulfill her potential. And now you're becoming a detriment to who she is as a person and a woman more than you are being a good boyfriend or a fiance. And for those of you who are married and you're wondering why you're not getting the most out of your spouse, I would ask, are you pouring the most into them? Are you pouring into them in a way that allows them space and room to flourish? John Maxwell calls it the law of the lid. Brothers, if we're the leaders, if we're supposed to be the leaders in our relationships, the leaders in our homes, the leaders in our marriages, the law of the lid says that the organization can only grow as high as the leader. And so if you're stuck on being a boyfriend, you'll never get the privileges that a wife provides to a husband because she hasn't become a wife. She'll never be a wife until you become a husband. Now, I know you're saying, Ryan, what does that mean? Scripture says that when a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing and obtains favor with the Lord. So if you find a woman who is worthy of being a wife, make her one. Because until then, she's a woman with wife potential. And see, the thing is, you can play husband, you can be hubby all day long until you actually become husband. Because when you become husband, then you have to become the house band, the one who holds the home together. And unfortunately, many of us come from broken homes, so we haven't seen healthy models of what it means to hold a home together. And because we haven't seen it, we don't know how to do it. Which is why I push for this idea of Go ahead, make the commitment and do all you can to create it, because I saw my dad do it. My dad didn't have a father in the home, and he spent the last 36 years of his life being everything he could be to be a father to me and my sister. He spent the last 40 years of his life being a husband to my mother. He spent the last 4 decades of his life breaking the curse of fatherless, husbandless homes. And so I know it can be done because I've seen it. And because I know my dad he's not an anomaly. He's not a unicorn. He's a man who has decided to trust the Lord and then to trust his wife to build everything that God said that he could be and could have. And I trust and I hope for you that you would take God up on his word, that he's not a man who should lie, that he's not somebody who's going to be a backbiter or be shysty or going to finesse you, that God truly is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. And that when you find a wife and make her one, then you'll obtain favor with the Lord. Now, I wouldn't be your brother if I didn't challenge you. Scripture tells us that faithful are the wounds of a friend. You can trust a friend who's not afraid to cut you. Because when I cut you as your brother and as your friend, I cut you in a way to help you heal, to get the infection out. And then I apply pressure in the proper places, the way new infection doesn't come in. That's what I'm here for. Not because I want to blow up the spot in your house, but because I want to see you become the best version of a man you can be, the way you can build a platform onto which you and your partner can now build the legacy that you desire. So yeah, I'm selfish about it. I'm trying to be everything I can be. I'm trying to wash my wife in the word of the Lord. I'm trying to grow in the word on my own, the way I can become the best man I can be. What's the song? I'm trying to be the best man I can be. Yeah, I'm trying to be the best man I can be. That way, when I present it back to my wife, when she multiplies it, when it comes back, I get so much more out of it. But if she's just my girlfriend, she's not required to do that. If I'm just her boyfriend, I'm not, I have no need to keep trying to be better. For what? What I'm doing is enough. It got you, didn't it? But when I become your husband, it pushes me to greater lengths, to do greater exploits for you and for our family. And so, brothers, I would encourage you, don't run from the commitment. Run towards it. Don't shy away from the thing that's hard to do. Confront it. Run towards it. Do the difficult thing. Be courageous. Be committed. Yeah, because you can do it. How do I know? Because I'm doing it. And I'm not special. I'm not. I'm a regular guy, just like you. The difference is that I have someone next to me who's committed to me and who's committed to pushing me to be the best that I can be. Just today, we had a conversation, and the outcome of the conversation was, "You're right, Hart. You're right, babe. I have to do better. I have to be better. I have to do more, because what we want requires me to do more, not you. You too can be a great man. You too can live the good life if you're willing to do the work. Will you do the work? That's the question. Will you do the work? Whatever the obstacle is that's holding you back from saying, okay, I'm ready to get married, do the work. Remove the obstacle. Be committed to the process. Excellence is a process, not a destination. And when we enjoy the process, we receive far greater rewards than if we just try to get to the finish line. Enjoy the process. Do the work. This is your brother, Ryan. I love you, man. Look, hey, if you're going to live the good life, you got to do the work. And I'm going to see you right there on the field doing the work. I love you. Peace.